Hallo Leute! So, welcome to my final product video presentation for my alternative assignment. And for my alternative assignment, I've chosen two issues of global and local importance. These issues being the global refugee crisis, as well as the implementation of strict border policies and its impact on migrants, voluntary or voluntary migrants. So yeah, and for these issues, I've also chosen two different countries to look at and compare and contrast. So, and those countries are Germany and the US. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so issue number one, the global refugee crisis. So, what is the refugee? Okay, so the 1951 Convention on Refugees defines the refugee as one who flees their country of origin and retains a well founded fear of persecution due to things such as religion, race, political views, or nationality. There are also economic refugees that we've been seeing. And so, yeah, so the refugee is basic, but has nowhere else to go. They're fleeing their country for their lives. It's not a voluntary migration whatsoever. So, yeah, that's the definition of the refugee. And we'll go ahead and get into Germany's attitude towards refugees and their actions that they've taken towards the crisis itself. So, Germany has a German Chancellor Angela Merkel has instituted a welcome culture in Germany that is very inclusive towards refugees and migrants alike. And one of the policies that she has actually introduced makes it so much easier for asylees to enter Germany. So basically, they can enter Germany and then apply for asylum. There's no detainment, there's no waiting outside of the border. Their need is immediate, and Germany recognizes this, and so they're able to enter Germany. And her slogan is also "Wir schaffen das," which means we can do it. So yeah, the German culture towards refugees is amazing and inclusive, unlike the U.S. So let's look at the U.S. stance on the issue. The current U.S. administration, as we all know, is pretty anti-immigrant. Donald Trump has openly denounced immigrants and has policies in place that make legal immigration harder, actually. And it's very interesting to see the past presidencies that we've had and how different presidents, well, it's basically flip flopped. So the Obama administration was very welcoming and inclusive towards refugees, and Obama raised the admissions cap for annual refugees in America several times before the transfer to President Trump's administration, which then lowered the admissions cap significantly. But we do see local organizations that are aimed towards helping out refugees and their integration into American culture, such as the Kentucky Refugees Ministry and Global Lex. So, yeah. Now let's talk about issue two, border policy. So it's very interesting to talk about Germany's history being a big influence on its current domestic policy towards migrants. So following the reunification of Germany, as well as the 1985 Schengen Agreement, the Schengen Agreement, the whole purpose of the Schengen Agreement was to create a Europe without the need for passports and strict travel laws. And Germany actually also instituted a labor ban following the Schengen Agreement that actually did ban working migrants from refugees for about 4 to 5 years, which saw a big increase in illegal immigration into Germany. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into inclusive domestic policy within the countries. So, as wonderful and amazing as the adoption of inclusive domestic policy towards migrants is, there are some unintended consequences. So, policies adopted by countries that may alter tradition or slightly change the daily way of living for the citizens of a host country can cause these citizens to see the refugees as the cause of their tradition being interrupted, and it can be seen as an infringement on their culture. So, this can cause a lot of hatred and distrust towards refugees from the citizens of host countries. However, there are many benefits in Germany and their inclusive welcome culture. So, the workforce of Germany is aging, and the influx of working age, healthy refugees actually will boost their economy, maybe not by an enormous substantial amount, but it does boost it to some extent, which is always a plus. And there is also, Germany has a very low fertility rate. And again, the influx of young, healthy refugees will actually help boost the fertility rate in Germany. So, yeah, those are some effects of inclusive domestic policy in Germany. And so now we'll go ahead and talk about the really not so inclusive American border policy. So it's so interesting to see. I mean, obviously, we've talked about how much easier it's been for refugees and immigrants to enter Germany and file for asylum. However, this is not the case in America. In America, there are detention centers that we use to hold people before coming into the country, and these detention centers are very prison-like, and some of them are for profit, and this is a huge issue because these for-profit detention centers have an incentive to go ahead and detain and keep people from entering the country for, I mean, monetary purposes. If it's for profit, so that's ridiculous. And it's also so interesting to see the US and its former identity as a nation of immigrants be so openly xenophobic and hateful towards those who try to come to America to flee persecution, to flee for their lives, and to try and start something better for them and their families over in America. I just think that's super interesting and terrible. And it just greatly contrasts with what we see in Germany. So, yeah. Anyway, that is the end. These are my works cited. Thank you so much for listening to me. I had a fantastic time researching this topic, found it incredibly interesting, and I hope you did too. So, yeah, thank you for listening. Ciao, ciao.